I'm Daniel, the past life regressionist, and it's time to begin.
Lift off and the clock has started.
This is Timeless Spirituality. Enjoy each of your time.
Well, hello there, everyone, and welcome back to Timeless Spirituality. Before I talk a little bit about this week's episode, I just want to tell you guys a little bit of what's to come. First and foremost, we are closing in on Season 4, the Mirror of Time Home Series, where we will ask the question, what is home? I am just getting so excited for this one to just make its way out there in the world, and yeah, I can't wait for you guys to go on this journey with me as I ask myself that same question. What is home? And the next episode coming up is going to be much more cerebral than this week's. I'll put it that way. It is going to be an episode about the beautiful mystery of time. Again, I can't wait to release that one. It is with frequent guest Folly Klein, who is a fan favorite. All the episodes with Folly are they're so much fun. I can't wait for you guys to hear this one. I'm just in a giddy mood because, it's Monday night, releasing Timeless Spirituality, just a couple hours. I mean, that's okay. So this episode is going to be a little different from what we typically do on the show. I really just wanted to have a gentle conversation about a very complex issue. So my guest, Zainub, is a Muslim American, and I am Jewish, and we are just coming together to have a conversation about what is going on in the Middle East right now, from two people who are just citizens of the world. And I just want to ask everyone to be gentle while listening to this, because this is not an easy topic to talk about right now. I often joke about in this space that I never thought the day would come when I would feel more comfortable talking about aliens in other dimensions than I would about geopolitics. So I just hope that everyone can approach this from a more, just think before you react. That's all I ask. And I think that is something that's just universal in life, just to chill out, think before you react. One of the things I wanted to do with this conversation today was I went against the grain, and there's something I wish I did, which was I wish I included more of the history of the conflict. That is something I really harped on when it was discussed in the 2024 astrological predictions episode, and I chose not to do it prior to the recording of this, and I wish that I did, because historical context is very important. And I just want you guys to take that into consideration while you're listening, that I should have done that. I really should have included it. So this conversation was almost acting as if all of this started back on October 7th. And that's wrong, because there is just so much more history behind it. And I wish I could take it back, but I think it was a great episode, and I just want to put it out as is. So I hope you guys enjoy just a conversation on it, and just know I'm people. Sorry, I'm getting a little tongue-tied on that one. I'm pro-people. If my nervousness isn't apparent enough, I hope that kind of brings it to the surface, but that's neither here nor there right now. I, as an American Jew, I just need to state right now, I believe in Israel's right to exist. I do. But I also believe in the right of the people of Gaza and their right to exist. They are people who are being hurt unnecessarily right now. Sure, there is a conflict at play there. You got to call a spade a spade. But it is wrong when innocent people are being harmed, and that goes for both sides of the conflict. So I just need to state that right now. So if there's any question in anyone's mind where I stand, yes, I have a natural bias because of the religion that I was born into. That's not lost on me. but I believe in the right of the innocent people of Gaza as well. And Zainub, my guest, she states that as well in the episode, so I just want to make that clear for her. She even acknowledges that she has somewhat of a pro-Palestinian bias just because of her background. So you guys know exactly where we are coming from. But at the end of the day, we both want to just see this conflict come to an end. We want to see a peaceful resolution, and we just want to see everything settle down. So I hope that you guys can just be along on this journey with us, and hopefully we can all find a way to make the world a better place and just find a way to exist together, because how are we ever going to move forward if we're just a bunch of idiots? So, yeah, I hope you guys enjoy this episode. And with all of that said, if you would like to book a regression with me to discover who, when, and where you have been throughout time, you can reach me on Instagram at The Past Life Regressionist or my website, thepastliferegressionist.com. And now, it's time to begin. Zainub, welcome to the show. How are you doing today?
Hello, Daniel. I'm doing great. I'm very happy and honored to be here.
Well, it is an honor to have you here because for everyone who likes, well, I mean, for many reasons, but for anyone who likes the question, what is your favorite song about time and why? That was Zainub's suggestion. She said to me, I mean, I think that was late 2021, early 2022. And he said, hey, you should ask people about what's their favorite song about time. So I initially referred to it as the Z question. And that's because it was Zainub. So everyone, this is Zainub, the founder of the question, what is your favorite song about time and why? So Zainub, that's my introduction for you.
I love it. That was definitely a message for you I feel like I had this thought pop into my head one day, and I was like, that would just be such a fun way for Daniel to, include that into his podcast. And I'm so happy you did. But yes, very cool. Is this the part where you're going to ask me the question?
Yeah. I'm really excited to ask the Z question to Zainub. So Zainub, what is your favorite song about time and why? And also my hands are going up for the guessing game. Yeah, the guessing. I'm all tongue-tied for the guessing game. Okay, hands are up. I'm really just giddy to have the founder here. Okay.
I love it. So I had to think about this one, and my favorite song about time is Clocks by Coldplay. And, it's interesting because it's not necessarily as blatant as Yesterday by the Beatles or some other sort of song that is so specific. But I chose Clocks because it's not only just a beautiful piece of music, but he really is artistically showing the way that the emotions that he's conveying and weaving in the enigma of time. Like it's a really beautiful blend of that. And so that's why I chose it.
I mean, I don't think verbatim you said, but like that it's not an obvious choice like Yesterday or something like that. I mean, the song is called Clocks. But
Sure. That's true. It is called Clocks. That is true. The lyrics are not as blatant, but yeah, you're right. I guess by the title, it's pretty obvious.
So, I think you've seen my hands have been up the entire time, right? You saw? There's no checking. I had them up, just doing my jazz hands without the waving.
I can confirm that.
Clocks, Coldplay, 2002.
Wow. Spot on.
Yes.
Are you a Coldplay fan?
I like them. Some of their stuff's pretty good. I wouldn't say that I'm like the biggest Coldplay fan in the world. There was that line from the 40-Year-Old Virgin that was really funny.
I'm one of those weird people that has not seen that movie.
Well, the joke may have aged poorly, so I'm not going to repeat it. But, okay, you want to have some fun with this right now? See, the hands were still up. You ready for this?
I'm ready.
The album came out in the second half of 2022. I want to say it was in the fall. I feel like it may have been released as a single in 2003, but I'm pretty sure that album came out in the fall of 2002.
You are very close. We are going to say you meant Q4, and Q4 is correct.
Yeah,
It is
yeah. It's Q4.
December.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's December. Yeah.
Yeah.
Apparently the song was released December 10th, 2002. And on the rush of blood to
Corpse
the
to the
head.
head, right?
Yes, that's
Yeah.
right. That's
Yeah,
right.
yeah. Yes. Q4. And also December 10th. It's still 10 days, or sorry, it's still, well, depending on the year. I'm not as good with when winter officially starts every year, but anywhere between 10 and 12 days, still away from winter. So the fall, yes, I'm so excited. Okay. All right. I'm gonna stop shaking my hands. Like, see, I'm like a little kid right now. I'm like, this is the stuff I get really, I'm such a fucking dork. Okay.
I love it. You are so good at music trivia, huh?
Yeah. Okay. Are you ready for the Thank you. Are you ready? Okay, I'm getting back into host mode. Are you ready for the next question?
I am.
What do you believe in?
Oh man, that's such a loaded question. What do I believe in? So, my name is Zainab, and for those listening, it's an Islamic name. Pretty obvious as I'm named after a woman in Islam. She's like, one of the most important figures in the religion. So that's a pretty big dead giveaway of how I was born and raised. So I was born and raised Muslim, and that has largely affected the way I see the world. But I like to caveat that with Mahatma Gandhi's quote, actually, where he said, I'm Christian, I'm a Hindu, I am a Muslim, and a Jew. And I say that because, especially since is it called Saturn return?
Mm-hmm.
I have really been delving into spirituality and in a larger sense. And ever since I was young, like I read the Bhagavad Gita in high school. I went to over 200 bar and bat mitzvahs growing up. I had a lot of diverse friends, and I'm very thankful to my parents for raising me to be so open minded. So, I guess when I say that and I quote Gandhi, it's really just to show that, especially in the last few years, I've learned that there are so many paths to one door. And I do believe in the concept of a soul and thereafter something maybe even before, as we are on this podcast of the past life regressionist. So I hopefully that gives you a little bit of a flavor of kind of where I have come from. And, it's definitely a developing path. So
Cool. I mean, I'm like, do I ask the next question because did Zainab answer it? I'm going to ask it anyway, just in case anything wasn't covered, because just like you said, it is a very loaded question. What do you believe in? So I'm going to now ask you the most difficult question of the day.
mm,
Who is Zainab?
who is Zainab? Certainly a who am I? I was not prepared for this question, but I think what comes up for me is I'm a Pakistani American woman. I was born and raised in the Midwest of the US. Now on the West Coast, I am a daughter, sister, wife, mother, and I am a writer. Yes, I most recently have started to be a lot more open and share my writing, which has been a wonderful process for me and a student of life. So that's how I'll answer that. Maybe, did that give you the answer you're looking for?
I mean, you could have said anything. I would have been cool with that answer. So,
Good.
I mean, I think it sums you up pretty well.
Thank you.
All right. Since this episode is going to be a little different and slightly more untraditional than the others.
Mm.
And before we really dive into the topic in hand, I want to ask you about your time growing up in America as an American Muslim. So what was that like for you? And I mean, I know you're never supposed to talk about a woman's age, but just for perspective, is it okay if I don't have to say exactly how old you are, but you know that unless you're okay with it.
Oh, I'm totally fine with it. Yeah, I'm in my early 30s, so
Normally I wouldn't bring that up, but just to set the scene for everyone of what it was like to grow up around the time of 9/11 being in
yes.
Muslim America. So you were what in middle school at the time when 9/11
Yeah.
happened. So then now everyone kind of has the picture of, timing. So what was that like for you to grow up as a Muslim American?
Yeah, such a good question. To be specific, I was in my math class of seventh grade. Yeah, so right smack dab in the middle of middle school during the time that we are developing into preteen, teenagehood, so insecure about everything. So this really hit at such a, obviously that I don't think there's one person quite frankly in the world, but especially in the United States and an American that doesn't remember where they were when they found out what was happening on that horrendous day. When 9/11 occurred, that obviously completely changed the way I saw the world, saw myself, saw the Muslim community. I was born and raised again in a household and in an extended family that has always been very open minded and embracing. And I actually feel that largely the Muslim community I have interacted with has been very welcoming and warm. And so I think that then when this all occurred, and I think I had mentioned this in the front of the podcast that I'm also Pakistani, meaning my parents, well, my dad was born in India, my mom was born in Pakistan, and my grandparents went through.
And that just creates a whole slew of problems in and of itself. But we're sorry.
I know. I'm like, I'm trying not to go too deep here, but
Want to talk about a wall?
yeah, right. My grandparents went through partition, and so in any case, I won't go too deep into it, but it was as though I was just in complete disillusionment of how could one of the people involved in carrying out 9/11 be Pakistani? Their names were names so close to my chest that I would hear in my community. Some of them were name shared the names of obviously prophets, imams in Islam, and it was very, very difficult at that age to understand what happened. And then, of course, besides that, the comments I then got, especially in middle school, you're a terrorist. I remember my family, we actually had a trip planned to go to Pakistan to visit my extended family that still lives there at the time. And I remember people asking me, are you like, do they have books there? Like, are they even educated? And things at the time that made me feel so inferior. And I was so afraid to tell people who I was and where I came from in terms of my religious background, just petrified. Despite, again, I being raised in a household that embraced diversity and welcomed it, celebrated other communities and religions. So I think sadly, it's hard to admit this, especially in such a public way, but I think there is a piece of me, I think, that internalized Islamophobia because I was so afraid to tell people who I was and be judged based on the actions of these horrendous people for what they did with the label of being Muslim. And it wasn't until, I think my early 20s when I started to really recognize that. And I'm still working through that today. So, yeah, certainly difficult.
Thank you for being open and sharing that. Because, look, I'll never know what that was like, to grow up in your shoes. I can only imagine, yes, I am Jewish, but then again, I can pass as someone who's not Jewish. You would
Mm-hmm.
only know that I was Jewish if I told you that I was Jewish. And I mean, so not to be too physically critical right now, but you know,
What are you
you,
trying to say, Daniel?
well,
I'm just joking.
I may
It's
not be
pretty
able to nail you
obvious.
down as Pakistani, but
Mhm.
of someone other than the white Anglo-Saxon origin. So
You're
it's like,
telling me that my brown skin and dark features don't give it away? No, certainly. Yes, absolutely. I mean, I grew up, people always asking me, one thing I'd get is, are you Italian? I'm like, no, 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 I'm not Italian. But yes, absolutely. I'm a pretty dead giveaway. I'm not white.
so like that's where I can never relate because I can blend in with the crowd. And I don't know that was not a good time to be a Muslim American after 9/11. Just but here's where it gets difficult too because we're here to talk about what's going on in the Middle East right now.
Hmm.
As much as I want to like wave my finger at anyone who is saying hurt the other, regardless of what side that is, I can remember what it was like here after 9/11 when all the Americans were like, rah, 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 let's go get them, let's go get them. Because as a country, we were hurt. And there was an anger that was, I mean, very present at the time. And so I think that there was a blindness that came over the country. And I think it was a normal human emotion, not to excuse it. But I think that that's what happens often in these situations is people forget, maybe not even consider what would it be like if the shoe was on the other foot. And this goes for, I'm not, going to say specifics here, but that goes for everyone. What would it be like if the shoe was on the other foot? What would it be like if I was actually in that person's shoes? Would I be able to sit here and be like, oh, well, I wouldn't do that because no, you really wouldn't know until you were in the moment. So the first question I want to ask you with regards to what's going on there right now, do you feel that there is a difference between Jewish people and Israel?
I certainly do.
Okay, so you're not an anti-Semite, established. Sorry.
Yes, no, I'm not an anti-Semite by any means. I actually, a running joke when would meet new Jewish friends would be I would start to say the first parts of the prayer that is recited at a bar and bat mitzvah, Baruch atah Adonai, etc. And especially when I was younger, I've forgotten a lot of it, to be honest. But my mom would never let me attend the part, like just the party of the bar and bat mitzvah. She said, you're going to miss out on the essence of this. So I would, even if a lot of my fellow Jewish friends that were attending the bar bat mitzvah, they would not be there at the service, but I would. So, no, I'm far from that. I actually grew up in a very heavily uh, I say this because it's so important in how I have also, I think, looked at the conflict. I grew up in a very heavily Jewish community. So, yes, far
And some
from,
of them
in
were
my opinion.
assholes.
What?
Well, I'm just
I'm,
saying, there are going to be assholes in every culture. I'm not saying because they were Jewish.
I mean,
So,
yes, I think that's the point of this, right? Is that there are bad apples. Just like, for example, I mean, it's just what I was saying, right? I was a Pakistani American Muslim girl in seventh grade when 9/11 occurred, and the actions of those people that carried out that act on 9/11, we couldn't be more different in how we would live our life or in our belief system at the time, even if, you know, we would never take those. I would never even dream of doing something like that just because we came from the same religious community in that regard. So, yeah, I totally agree.
So what you're saying is just because you may share religion doesn't mean that you view the world the same way. If I'm hearing you correctly.
That's absolutely right. I mean, honestly, the other thing I will say is that this has been a little bit complicated from my end, and as of recently, I I'll explain. I always think it's important to separate people from their governments. So, of course, that means, for example, the Pakistani people from their government, which, in my opinion, is very corrupt right now. Obviously, Pakistan is run under, it's an Islamic state officially. There are other religions that also live and dwell there. Similar with like Israel, right? There are obviously largely Jewish people live there. It's very important to the Jewish community, but the actions of the Israeli government should not reflect every Israeli citizen, in my opinion. Where I think I've gotten a little bit, and then there's this brings up this question of like being a Zionist versus being Jewish. Some people have said that Zionism is built in to it. This is from like Jewish people I've seen, but I separate them, and I certainly, at the very core of it, separate the actions of the current government of Israel from all Jewish people.
When you say Zionism is built into it, what do you mean by that?
So Zionism at its most extreme, I think, could be one of the reasons why the far right government of Netanyahu is seeing red, as it is pretty much what I think you were trying to say in the beginning, right? Which is like when somebody comes and attacks you, you go to this place, depending on how severe it was, of course. And I, I, I believe this was the worst attack any group of Jewish people, or thereby, I'm guessing Israel, has seen in years. So it was like, we're going to go, and whatever it takes, like we are going to your your words, like we're going to come get you, right? Or however you said it. And so I think with Zionism, it's the way I believe it's defined as the belief in a Jewish state and a homeland for Jewish people. And I think that it's more so, when I'm referring to it in this conversation, about how extreme that would be in terms of like how widespread it is, at what cost, etc. So I want to make that important distinction.
Yeah, so I'm not an expert when it comes to Zionism, but I do have the same understanding, I think, that you do, that it is the belief that there should be a Jewish state, which, as a Jew, admittedly, I'm slightly biased. I do get that, and I do believe in it, but also not at the expense of hurting other people. Like, I think that's where it becomes an issue, and I think that's where any idea can become twisted. I mean, this isn't just in politics. I think this is in spirituality, religion. So we have a similar understanding of what that is, and other people may have a similar understanding. And then there are other people who may be looking at the same exact definition and take it and shift it to whatever it is that they believe that it says, or whatever they think that it should mean, and then take it to an extreme. So I'm someone who's kind of caught in this hard place between, I see when people say that if you're against Zionism, then you are anti-Semitic. I don't fully agree with that. I can see a little bit of it potentially if you're looking at the definition.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know if that's the case. Again, I'm piss off a lot of Jews by saying that, and a lot of non-Jews. There's no winning. But I don't know. I personally don't think it inherently means that you are an anti-Semite if you don't support a Jewish state. I mean, I can see the argument for it, that pretty much all the other religions have, states, and so on and so forth in their own countries. So why can't the Jews? I get it. But it's still, and this is where it becomes tough. I believe in it, but also at what cost? What are the ramifications for the world for years to come? And I say this as someone who is also saying, sorry to really nail this one in there, that, yeah, I believe that the Jewish people should have a homeland. Mm-hmm. But I don't know if it's black and white, but it's like, why do people have to be hurt in the process? That's my thing. And I think that all life is important. I mean, yes, some people are assholes. Some people are stupid. This is every race, religion, gender, non-gender. It's universal. It's probably aliens are stupid too. Some of them, not all of them. So to, kind of to label one group as one thing and, so it's like, yes, are there horrible people who are living in Gaza? Yeah. But I mean, I'm going to make an assumption here and say the overwhelming majority of them are not. Mm-hmm. So why hurt people who have done nothing wrong and who probably just want to go about their day and live their life in the best way that they can without hurting anyone else? So that's the baseline of how I feel about that. It's going to be one of those things after, I think for both of us, where we're going to be saying, oh, wish we would have said that. Oh, man. Oh, no. Kicking myself that I didn't say that. My next question for you is, what was your initial feeling when Israel was attacked on October 7th?
I was in a complete state of shock. I was so confused. I was just so, I can complete, it was first met with complete shock to then complete dread. As I understand it, Israel has a lot of support from the U.S. I think that's very abundantly clear. And so as there's the Iron Dome and, it has, I also have done trips with people who were former IDF. They served in the IDF. When we hiked Machu Picchu, they're in our same travel group. And just to spend that time with them and hear about their experience in the Army. So I was like, well, okay, this is horrendous what's happened. And I feel for those families that have been affected. But I was like, there was this deep feeling that there was another shoe that was going to drop and it was going to be really bad. It was going to be the start to something horrific. And, being born and raised in the Muslim community, I've learned about this conflict since I was little. And of course, definitely from the Palestinian side as well. And so I think I was just so afraid for what was going to unravel. And I was praying so hard that it wouldn't become what it has today. But unfortunately, we are where we are. So,
so with that, I want to jump in really quick to ask the next question. And I want everyone to pay attention to the wording. So the wording of the previous question was, what was your initial feeling when Israel was attacked? Use the word attacked there on October 7th. Now, my next question for you, again, pay attention to the wording, everyone. What was your initial feeling when Gaza was attacked afterwards? And sorry, before answering the question, I just want to point out, even though I may have an inherent bias, you got to call a spade a spade. If I'm going to say that Israel was attacked, which they were, if someone comes and punches you and attacks you, and you punch him back in retaliation, regardless of, how many times, I don't know, I still think that's the definition of attacking, even if it's a provoked attack, but you're still attacking. So it's important, and that's where I think language becomes very important in all facets of society. There are spiritual parallels here. Words are important. Language is important. So words have meaning. And it's not fair for me to just say Israel was attacked without saying that Gaza was attacked also. Regardless of circumstances, an attack is an attack. So I guess I'm just saying that because I want everyone just to be aware of that when you are consuming content out in the world and you are consuming it from people who have little to no self-awareness of their own bias or their own terminology and who never play devil's advocate. Because I think that that's really important to present the most well-rounded point of view that you possibly can while taking all sides into consideration, even though, like, come on, let's be honest, there shouldn't be sides, but there are. Spade a spade. So language is important. So Zainub, sorry for asking the question and then going on a little rant there, but what was your initial feeling when Gaza was then attacked after October 7th?
No, I'm glad you actually added all of that in. It's super important. I think one thing we talk about, I will get to the answering the question, but one thing that you and I talk about a lot is that having self-awareness is so important in any sort of spiritual evolution or just period. As a human being here on earth, it's so underrated, honestly. But I do want to one thing, if this has not been abundantly clear, is of course, I was born and raised Muslim. I am South Asian. I have grandparents that went through the partition. I am obviously a little bit, I am not Palestinian. I am not Arab. I am not Israeli. And I'm obviously not Jewish. But I guess all that goes to say that I do have a perspective in this, and it is the Muslim community. So I'm sure someone can understand that I am a little bit more biased in that regard while still striving to be very open-minded. So I do want to just put that all out there. I think when I started to see what was unfolding in Gaza, the thing that was so, and still is, I mean, to this day, just so hard for me to process is the effect it's had on the children and the young generation in Gaza. There was a very good analogy that I appreciated when this all started to unravel. A creator online had said, if there was a school shooting, the police aren't going to go in and just shoot up the rest of the entire school to find the shooter. They will be a lot more calculated and careful. And I think I mean, obviously, the amount of casualties and the suffering that the innocent have had to go through has been very difficult to watch. And I'd say that feeling of dread, to close, like to the feeling of dread was just, it persisted of this is the shoe that's dropping. And every week I would just say, please, please, I pray that they do the hostage exchange and there's no more fighting and a ceasefire. I advocate for that. I would do that every day. And it just continues. And so it's been a lot worse than I honestly ever could have imagined. And I think it's really interesting. You brought this up, but the way social media has played a role in this, it's been completely different from so many conflicts before this. And you could argue that in so many ways, but I think honestly, not only being able to see the incredible, and I mean that in such a negative connotation, the incredible suffering of the people in Gaza right now, the daily the daily issues that they have to face. I mean, that's just an understatement. But also being able to hear from the mother of a hostage that she was just bawling her eyes out and wanting her son, her child to come back. I would have never had access to that. So that was honestly, it's been eye-opening, but it obviously comes with its own set of problems. So,
Yeah, I agree with you. And I don't think I've stated yet, so I want to state that unequivocally, I am against what Hamas did to Israel on October 7th. And I am firmly against what the Israeli government is doing to innocent people in Gaza. It's wrong. It's wrong on both sides. It's wrong what was done to the people of Israel, and it's wrong what's being done to the people of Gaza. Now, as Zainub said earlier, bad apples in both camps. But I just personally think it's wrong to hurt innocent people. And I don't want to make excuses for Israel in what they're doing right now, but a part of me understands that. I mean, you're dealing with a bunch of people who lack self-awareness or have a very misguided sense of self-awareness, where I think a lot of it comes from this place of the Jews have been persecuted throughout history. I mean, this is historical fact that Jews have been scapegoated and persecuted and kicked out of their homes. But this is also where this like the self-awareness comes into play. Should you be doing what's been done to you? Karma, anyone? But, sorry. But I think that there's this sense of we will not be pushed around anymore. We've been pushed around too long. And I get it, but at what cost still? You know, how much muscle do you need to flex at the expense of innocent people? And I think that that's a question that people should just ask themselves in everyday life. Where are my actions coming from? And what is the driving force behind why I'm doing this? And hate just creates more hate. I think that's the bottom line. And that's universal. I'm not saying this one side or the other, because no one is fully innocent in this. Like, even were there times after 9/11 when I saw someone who I perceived to be of any Muslim, or I don't know if Muslim origin is the correct terminology, since it's not, a geographical place, but anyone of a Muslim faith who appeared to be Muslim. Was there a part of me that kind of tensed up because of what the zeitgeist was at the time, what the general feeling was? And look, I'm not perfect, but I think that was something that was present in me. Granted, I was a teenager at the time, and my brain hadn't fully developed. I think I'm still working on it developing, although I think by my age it's supposed to be fully developed, but I don't know. I'm trying. But it's that awareness of, oh yeah, I do have these inherent prejudices, whether or not they're right or wrong, whether or not I act on them. But there is something that comes up inside of me. And when it comes up, I have to ask myself, why is this coming up? Is this justified? But that's universal. And there's one thing I just want to bring up with regards to, this being a primarily past life podcast. I've had lives where I've been Jewish or Hebrew. I've had lives where I've seen myself as a Philistine, which would be basically where Gaza is right now. Roughly within those borders for the most part. I mean, it's changed over time a little bit. Again, I've been Hebrew, I've been Egyptian, I've been on the other side of it. But within the spiritual lens, I have to call something out right now. Something that has made me absolutely sick is when I've seen influencers in the spiritual community go out there and say, the children of Gaza, they signed up for this. They knew coming into this life that this was what was going to happen. And this was their sacrifice in order to open up the world's eyes to what's going on. I don't know, maybe, but does that make it right? Does that justify it? No, that's disgusting to try to explain it away by, oh, they made a soul contract.
That is
Oh, this soul made this up.
disgusting.
This is
Wow.
this is all part of their path. Oh, we just need to find love and unity. Yeah, yes, let's come to that place where we could all love each other. But they knew what they were signing up for. They knew it. That's fucking disgusting. I'm sorry.
It
So
truly
it's not
is.
very spiritual of me to say that, but
Well, I mean, I also think that shows perhaps that is the way, quite frankly, the only way that person, whoever says that or believes that, where they can sleep at night. I don't really understand how anyone can say that and truly believe if, if they call themselves a spiritual person, how they can accept that. So I agree. That is disgusting. And it's really so that person can just somehow say, oh, well, it's okay that this is happening. They don't face the ugly truths of the situation or what
mhm,
that evokes in them. It's easy for them to then put it in a box and put it on a shelf somewhere and move on with their life.
mhm. Yeah, I mean, I think that's very emblematic also of saying something of, let's just say, marginalized races in the United States, where I mean, I've also seen it presented. Oh, well, they chose that. They came into this life choosing that. Well, maybe, but does that mean that we shouldn't do everything that we possibly can to help lift them out of that situation? Because maybe they signed up for that, so we could help them and call attention to that in that respect. So I guess what I'm ultimately saying with this is whether or not that was the intention of the people who were putting the message out, it was very, dare I say, two-dimensional. They're not taking the totality. Oh, they signed up for it. And dot, dot, dot.
Right.
So I hope that everyone takes those things into consideration, that there is so much more. These are not black and white issues. And with that, I'm going to ask you a very loaded black and white question. Do you see a peaceful path forward?
I I
Don't
pray
worry, I'm
for
not
it.
asking you to solve the,
No, no,
the issue right now.
I know. I pray for it. I dream of it. I do believe there is a peaceful path forward for sure. I think the first the first thing I mean, this is entirely my opinion, that if anyone were to say there's going to only be the state of Israel or there's only going to be the state of Palestine for where we are today, I do not believe that they are living in reality, nor do I feel they are trying to have any sort of empathy for the other side, which is what I think a big theme of today's discussion is about. I think it will require a lot of a lot more empathy from both of the sides in power on either end. And I think a lot of forgiveness in general. I mean, quite frankly, I have no idea how we will get there. But I really do hope for it. I really do hope for it. And I I also I really hope that at the very least, I have to say this, that I really hope that at the very least the Palestinians that are suffering right now in Gaza get access to, you know, food, water, and shelter. I think that's a good first step. And of course, the hostage exchange. But yeah, I hope for it, Daniel.
A good first step? I mean, come on, Zainub.
I know I'm being extra gentle here.
Right. Come on for that.
Extra gentle, but obviously
I appreciate the gentleness.
Yes, I just
No,
tried
they
to
should
be
have fucking
sensitive.
food and water and shelter.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, they
yes,
deserve
they
their
should.
right. They deserve a right to, from friends of mine that have, I mean, you've been to Israel. I've never been, but from my Jewish friends that have been there, they say it's just an amazing place, and
Hmm.
Tel Aviv is super fun, and Jerusalem is beautiful. And so I think I want Palestinians to be able to say the same thing. I think that is what's fair. Separate borders, no control of resources. Everyone deserves to live a life of safety and happiness. And I think at the very least. So I hope we get there.
Ditto. All right, so there's a new game that I'm playing on the podcast. As you see in this baggie right here that I'm holding up, I have 4 different pieces of paper. And this is the How Have You Grown In game. So I'm going to stick my hand in here. I'm going to swirl it up. As you can see, I'm pulling my hand out so you see that I wasn't marking anyone in particular, because I do like to maintain the integrity of the games. These games usually have to do a lot with my hands. Holding them up in one way or another.
That's true. Which only I can see. They cannot.
Right? So I go out of my way to say it. Because I do try to maintain the integrity of the game. So Zainub, how have you grown? Okay, this could be interesting. Zainub, how have you grown in the past day?
Oh, wow. The past day. The past day. Honestly, I think in the past day, well, maybe this is a good opportunity. I have been able to sit in my emotions a lot more and try, and I think one thing that I did actually, not knowing if I would be able to share it or not, but I wrote something for this podcast episode, and I don't want to give too much away. I will read it with your permission.
Duh.
But I was going to say it really pushed me to be unbiased and put my ego aside and step truly into the shoes of someone else. So this honestly was very different because I don't think I had to go that deep in that exercise, or I have not asked myself to do that since October, or quite frankly, my entire life for this conflict. So this honestly has been a wonderful exercise of growth. So I will read it now and see what you think.
Well, before we do that, I want to do our sign off because I really would like to close the episode with your
Sure.
poem.
Yeah, of course.
So I just want to thank you so much for being here today and for engaging in this very scary conversation. Because I don't know, I never thought the day would come when I'd feel more comfortable talking about aliens than I would about geopolitical issues. So
Same here. It's actually been very petrifying. And as the Libra in me, it's not even just the Libra in me, but I think I never want to make anyone upset. And I think I told you this, I felt a huge responsibility to not only make sure that I was being open-minded, but also not to misrepresent the side that I'm a little bit more biased coming as a, Muslim raised woman. So, in any case, it's been such an honor. Thank you for having me. And
You're very welcome. Thank you for the Z question. So before you start reading it, where can everyone reach you?
yes, you can find me on Instagram at Words by Zainub, Zainub. So
I was doing something else with my hands there. I was clapping because I'm so excited that Zainub has a new Instagram account for writing. Yay. That only took 3 years of badgering.
I know it's been a long time coming, and I humbly ask you to go check me out. So thank you so much.
All right, everyone, I present to you Words with Zainub.
With just a wall to separate us, do you see my suffering? Belly aching isolation that freezes my senses. Crippling anxiety has me in a chokehold, all for the world stage to peer into like I'm the main character of a blockbuster film. Harrowing fear hangs in the streets, air so thick you can slice it with a knife. Beyond the fog, I see the place I call home, memories etched into sidewalk cracks and streetlights. This is the place I will live and die for. You can strip me of my dignity, but you cannot rob me of my heart. The same heart that pumps blood to my being to give every last fight I have left. It burns like a flame in the sea of darkness until my last breath. Will you celebrate my death or mourn in my victory? Thank you.
Fellow time travelers, your journey through time awaits you. Just want to thank you guys so much for listening to today's episode. And if you're interested in discovering who, when, and where you have been throughout time, and you'd like to book a session with me, just go ahead and send me a message on Instagram at The Past Life Regressionist, or you can reach me through my website, yourpastliferegressionist.com.
Hey, time traveler. Are you trying to learn your birth chart and you're struggling through all those confusing layers of signs, houses, planets, degrees, aspects? I have a 4-level self-paced course that makes this process so much clearer. Hi, I'm Danny. I'm that witch next door. I'm an instructor and mentor for folks like you that are trying to learn all of this trendy new astrological information for themselves in their own lives. Each level of my course is specifically designed to dive deep into the chart and help make sense of all those different parts and pieces. I developed this course to directly improve all the problems that I personally encountered on my journey to learning my own birth chart so that you don't have to. All of the information is presented in a way that is digestible and set up to promote the most effective retention and set you up for real success. By the end of our last level, you'll be ready to practice interpreting the transits and the aspects for yourself. You can visit thatwitchnextdoor.com/astrology for more information and to order yours today. You can also use code Time to Learn for a 10% discount off of your bundle today. This is my way of saying thank you so much for being part of the Timeless Spirituality community. I enjoy working with all of you so much that listen to me over on That Witch podcast. So don't forget, if you're struggling to learn your birth chart, you want to finally make sense of all of this, visit thatwitchnextdoor.com/astrology and use code Time to Learn for 10% off at checkout. Thank you so much, time traveler. Thank you, Daniel, the past life regressionist, and I'll see you all in class.